Hello, this is Janet Michael. In addition to hosting The Valley Today each weekday at noon on the River 95.3, I also produce podcasts. And I'm excited to kick off Season 2 of our podcast series in partnership with Rappahannock Electric Cooperative. It's called We Are REC. Every week we'll release a new episode talking to different people from REC about a host of different topics. We'll get tips for saving money on your electric bill. We'll talk about renewable energy and the impact it can have in our communities. We'll get some behind-the-scenes info about what happens when the power goes out in a storm. Don't miss out on information about community grants, scholarships, REC-hosted events, and more. Get every single episode on our website at theriver953.com under the podcast tab. Or you can subscribe for free in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or on Spotify. Just do a quick search for We Are REC. Hello and welcome to The Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. As you are listening to today's show, it is United Way Day because it is the fourth Friday of the month, but we have pre-recorded today's conversation. Elise is sharing a Zoom screen with me for our show today. Also sharing the Zoom screen with us is Rebecca and Mark from Literacy Volunteers Winchester area. At least Mark, I can see. Rebecca is having a video malfunction, but thank you guys for coming to spend a little bit of time with me this afternoon. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
So, Elise, let me start with the COVID-19 Relief Fund. Is it still going on? Do you still need money? What's the status of that particular program?
It is doing so well. We are shocked and humbled by the generosity in our community. As of to date, we've raised over $172,000 in funds, which is incredible, with 86,000 plus of that coming from private donations and dollar for dollar match coming from United Way, bringing us to above 170,000. And so there is a lot of money being given, and we are just so humbled by the community's generosity.
And as soon as those donations come in, you guys are really quick to be turning them around and sending them back out to organizations in the community that are doing good right now.
Absolutely. To date, we've given out over 80,000 in donations and special grants to nonprofits who are on the front lines of everything going on right now with COVID-19 needs in our community, with everything from housing instability, where people are about to lose their housing and become homeless because unemployment due to COVID, to working with the clinics to make sure that people who might not be able to afford their medication anymore have access to that. Just last week, we helped with a diaper distribution, giving out diapers to families who could no longer afford to diaper and even give formula to their children. So, I mean, the needs are profound, but so is the generosity here in our community. It's pretty incredible what we've been able to do with that dollar for dollar match.
And I would imagine that part of it, I mean, it's tough, and full disclaimer, I serve on the board for United Way of Northern Shenandoah Valley, but I know that you guys as staff are literally on the front lines as well, managing all of these needs and these requests and seeing some of the real devastation that has happened in our community. So when the numbers go up from a giving perspective, that's got to give you a little bit of a sigh of relief, I would guess, and be the silver lining in this cloud for you.
Absolutely. It is such a relief just to see all this money coming in, because although, I mean, there's never ever going to be enough, it's just so incredible to see what we can do with it. I mean, and we're seeing this, little dollars here and there really adding up to making a huge difference for some people. I mean, we've had some incredible testimonials of, families that are young, that are out of work, and because of they work in like customer service or in other professions where they're really out there every day working with the public, and suddenly going to no money in the bank, and risking of losing their housing or having their electric turned off, to like elderly people who are really struggling and not speaking up to try to get help. I mean, it's just incredible that we have all these awesome nonprofits in our region that are just ready to jump right in, do what it takes to keep people, keep all the three tricycles on, all three wheels on the tricycle, just keeping people from real crisis.
One of the things that we're going to talk about today, one of the reasons why Mark and Rebecca are here, is we're going to talk about the fund distribution from the campaign. How many agencies or how many organizations do you have that are member agencies of United Way Northern Shenandoah Valley?
Well, we don't really have member agencies per se, but we every year we do give out grants to nonprofits who apply for funding for specific programs. This year, we just announced that 34 local nonprofits throughout the region of Winchester, Frederick, Clark, Shenandoah, and Page will all be receiving grants, nearly $500,000 in money to help with local programming.
And I will tell you, I sat on one of the fund distribution committees for the first time this year. And man, it's tough looking at these applications and watching and listening to these presentations of these organizations that have really, really good programs that can make such an impact in our community. But knowing there's only a certain amount of money available to give to so many people, it was a tough decision for at least my committee to make this year.
And I don't think you're alone in that. We had about $800,000 requested almost this year. And I think we had just shy of $500,000 to give out. And so those are some pretty serious cuts. And so I don't think just about anyone got a full funding or everything they asked for, but that's just because there is never enough money to go around. But we did do some really great work, or we have some really great investments to show for all the hard work that our committee members did. It's pretty incredible, some of these grants.
Mark, tell me about Literacy Volunteers Winchester area, because I know you guys applied for a grant, and we'll talk in the second segment about what you're going to do with it. But what do you guys do at your organization?
Well, first of all, I say this all the time, anytime we get to talk about the United Way. Our agency would not exist if it weren't for the generosity of the United Way. We've been around since 1985. We don't have records going that far back, but I have to assume that United Way has been supporting us the entire time. Without question, our most generous supporter. We're an agency that's never gotten federal or state funding, and so the United Way is essential to our operations. We, in the past year, have educated over 500 students, worked with 180 volunteers, and United Way is front and center in our mind when we do it, because what we do wouldn't happen. We focus a lot on the ALICE population, the asset limited, income constrained, and employed people who need education that can't afford it or don't have any other place to go, whether it's preparing to start GED classes or working on their English or their citizenship preparation. All these things are not available to low-income people other places, and we can do it at low or no cost to them, and it's all because of the United Way. So thank you.
Mark, when you were on the show, I think the last time with me, you were in the middle of kicking off a citizenship class. I assume that's over by now. How do those work?
We do it in a variety of different ways. For a long time, for people who've really struggled with English, we have rolled up our sleeves and spent a year or two with them working on their English so that they can apply. And then with the United Way support this past year, and again in the coming year, we found out today, we will expand our citizenship program to help people who just need help with the legal side. It's a complicated process. It's getting more complicated by the day. In 2021, it's going to get even harder. They're going to do expanded literacy tests and probably tougher civics questions. And so the United Way and then First Presbyterian Winchester have been the most critical supporters of this work. And I think we've quadrupled the number of citizenship students we've worked with in the past year, recognizing that there's so many people out there who need the help and weren't getting it. And so we asked the United Way to help us, and they did.
And that's a process, right, Elise? I mean, you mentioned a second ago that all of these agencies have to make an application, and those applications are fairly detailed with who they're going to serve, what the impact is going to be, and they have to do an audit after they're approved and receive some of this money to make sure that they've done what they said they were going to do with it.
Absolutely. It is a very lengthy and thorough process for our agencies to go through. But that's just the way at United Way, we make sure that we're stretching every single dollar and doing as much as we possibly can with each grant investment. I know Mark could probably talk to you all day about some of the amazing programs they're doing. But I mean, on top of that, they're doing some other really great stuff with working with like the Winchester Rescue Mission on resume development. I mean, they're also working with more computer classes. There's just so many things that each grant is able to do. And so it's really, I mean, it's a long and it's a tough process to get through our grants, but we're very proud of each grant that we're able to help out with.
Let's take a quick break. When we come back, Mark, Rebecca, can we talk a little bit about some of those partnerships and some of the things that you guys have in the works? I know, Mark, you just mentioned you found out today that you are getting some of the grant money from United Way. So can we talk about what you've got that earmarked for in the second segment?
Absolutely. Would love to.
All right, we are going to do that when we come back in just a couple of minutes. Again, we have pre-recorded today's conversation. We are chatting with Elise from United Way of Northern Shenandoah Valley. She is on the Zoom screen with us, along with Mark and Rebecca from Literacy Volunteers Winchester area. I am Janet Michael, and you are listening to The Valley Today. Expecting to hear a commercial? That's what this is, sorta. First, I want to thank you for listening to the Valley Today podcast. You're one of thousands who listen to the show this way every month. Sometimes it's because our listeners are busy and they want to listen when it fits their schedule, or it's a guest of the show who want to hear what they sounded like when they were on the radio. We even have a few binge listeners who listen to a week's worth at a time. Can you even imagine? So if you want those people, your potential customers, to hear your message, then this could have been your ad. And the bonus, your commercial isn't restricted to just 30 or 60 seconds. You can take up to 2 minutes to talk to those customers. And there's even the opportunity to be an exclusive sponsor of the Valley Today podcast, which also gets you on-air mentions at the end of every show. If any of this sounds interesting to you, give me a call at the station, 540-635-4121, or send me an email to janet@theriver953.com. You can also find all my contact info by searching for me on theriver953.com. Welcome back to the Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. It is United Way Day on the screen, and it's United Way Day as you're listening to this on the air, and it's sort of United Way Day on the screen because we're actually recording this on a Wednesday afternoon. You're listening to it, of course, on Friday. Elise is here with me via Zoom from the United Way of Northern Shenandoah Valley. Joining her are Mark and Rebecca from Literacy Volunteers Winchester area. And Rebecca, during the break, we were talking a little bit about the role that you're playing right now in the middle of this pandemic. And you've kind of become the liaison between clients and the Literacy Volunteer Center to just stay in touch and see what you can do and how you can help the people that were requesting your services prior to the health pandemic, right?
Yes, I have been. When we first shut down, we discussed how to kind of get in touch with our different communities. We have students who are learning English, students who are learning to read, students who are learning computer skills and citizenship knowledge. I've been contacting them kind of one by one. I started with phone calls. The people that I couldn't reach by phone, I emailed or texted them. And little by little, they're getting back to me. Some of them are saying, yes, please, I want to continue. Please put me in a virtual class or a phone conversation with a tutor. So we've been matching people up with our students with volunteers who are willing to maybe learn a new digital literacy skill, maybe try Zoom, or Google Meet is another one that we use. And some of our groups are just talking on the phone or even over email, sending things back and forth to each other. And little by little, we're building our programs back up. The conversational English is very easy to do over Zoom or any virtual program because they can see each other's faces and they can talk. And we all know, since now many of us have used these platforms, it's hard. It's not like talking person to person. That people have to interrupt each other. There's always a little bit of a delay, but they're learning to do that, and it's good for them to practice that and their English. I think it'll be a little bit more complicated to build back the other programs, but we are listening to the students and asking what they need and trying to meet their needs kind of on a one-on-one basis for now.
So, Mark, do you feel like maybe this is an avenue that you guys will continue to a certain degree moving forward when things do open back up a little bit more, that you'll utilize some of this technology and Zoom a little bit more for some of your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think anybody wants to. I think everybody loves to learn in person. And as Rebecca was alluding to, there's so much about that, the face-to-face. And I think it just made us realize we've had to just reinvent everything and just question every part of our operation. What parts can we do in person as soon as we're able, and what parts can't we? Basic computing, for one, I think is going to be really hard to do virtually. But if people have a little bit of skill and they're at home with their computers, then maybe something like Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel can be taught virtually. But it's really different. There are opportunities for us. Our strength is the small group instruction. the one-on-one, the two-on-one. And because of what COVID means for society, there's going to be a demand for that. People aren't going to be able to sit in 15-person English classes with a paid instructor anymore. They're not going to be able to sit in in-person GED classes. So there's going to be an increased demand. We're going to be totally different than we were 6 months ago, 6 months down the road. It's going to be a totally different organization. And every time our staff gets together on the phone, we figure out what the next step is to making that transition.
So Elise mentioned in the first half of the show some of the different partnerships that you probably had before, but that have become even more important now in the middle of this health crisis. Tell me about some of those.
So the United Way has been super critical in encouraging our work with the Winchester Rescue Mission. That's the best one. There aren't many of the guys or the women at the Rescue Mission are working with us to get their GED, although that happens. A lot of it's about them coming to us to build their confidence, to build their skills. And sometimes that means them volunteering. One of the longer term residents there, when everything fell apart because of COVID, was teaching our reading class, our basic reading class. Wonderful man that everybody in the neighborhood knows really well. And I think a little bit of low confidence. And we said, hey, Rob, come on in. We need a reading teacher. Can you do it? And he rose to the challenge. And just as often as not, the Rescue Mission guys are volunteering as they are taking classes. I think often the computer classes, they're just 6 weeks, are sort of a gateway into something more substantial. And so a lot of the guys will do that. And the United Way enables us to participate in case management meetings every 2 weeks. Actually, I'm going to leave this call and jump right on that case management call. When guys are stable in the living environment there, then the staff can say, what do they need to get to the next step? Is what kind of education is needed? Sometimes it's a driver's license, and we can help with that. And so we're an important part of the sort of the end game for many of the Rescue Mission residents, trying to figure out how they leave the mission and move on with their lives. So it's not like they're just getting kicked out on the street. They've got a job lined up. They've got a GED in progress. They've got computer skills, and that's where we come into play. And that's all United Way funding.
Speaking of United Way funding, we talked about the fact that distribution decisions have been made. And I know that your organization, Literacy Volunteers, applied for one of those impact grants and were approved. What were you asking for the grant for? What are you guys going to do with that grant?
So it's a good question. We're thrilled. We received $19,000, which is a whole lot of money for us, about 10% of our annual budget. And at the time, I think we asked for the Rescue Mission support. We asked for support for our computer programs and support for our citizenship programs. And our intentions are to do that. That said, when we wrote these grants was before COVID. And so, everything is up in the air for everybody. But we're going to do our best to work with the United Way to make sure that what we're doing meets the needs of the Alice population in the area.
Separate and apart from United Way funding, you also take donations from the general public. People can write a check directly to you that could go towards anything in your budget that you think needs to be, any gaping holes. How would people donate, or even at this stage, are volunteers necessary? What do you need at Literacy Volunteers?
Yeah, for sure. Money's always welcome. We're a small but mighty organization, very, very lean, very, very lean. So donations can be made by visiting our website, lvwa.org, or calling 540-536-1648. But I think volunteers are going to be in short supply moving forward, especially as people figure out the new normal. I think many of our volunteers are retired. Many are probably in the vulnerable category for COVID. So many of them live in places like Westminster, Canterbury, or Village or Orchard Ridge. Places where people have to be extra careful because of the close proximity of vulnerable people. So we're going to need to really go out there and recruit hard. Again, visiting the website, lvwa.org, and filling out the contact us form is probably the best way to raise your hand. Of course, technology is going to be super important. So we're rapidly expanding our ability to do training on things like Zoom so that our volunteers are comfortable with the technology. But yeah, we're going to have to our volunteers are going to look totally different 6 months from now than they did 6 months ago. It's just, there's going to be a recycling of new people, I think.
So Elise, we talked at the very top of the show about the COVID-19 relief fund. People can still donate to that even today. I mean, that whole thing hasn't closed out because, of course, we're still in the middle of this. How does somebody donate to the COVID-19 relief fund?
Absolutely. It is going to be more of a marathon, not a sprint. The best way to donate is just to go to our website, which is unitedwaynsv.org, or you can text to the number 44321 UW COVID.
And I'll tell you how easy that was, because I did it a couple of months ago when we were still doing live shows then, and I did it during the break, and you didn't even know that it happened.
Nope, you were sneaky, but the best kind.
And if somebody wants to reach out to United Way for any other things, I mean, I know you guys have Valley Assistance Network, and they are frequently looking for donations of things in addition to cash and monetary donations. All of that starts at the United Way's website?
Yep, or you can see up-to-the-minute needs and information by going to our social media. Our Facebook is updated quite regularly. But just check out United Way of Northern Shenandoah Valley, and you can kind of find more information from there.
Fantastic. And Mark, what was the web address one more time for you?
lvwa.org.
And you guys have social media as well, I believe, right?
Yep, Facebook, a little bit of Instagram, but...
Well, we are going to wrap up today's episode of United Way Day. Again, we pre-recorded it earlier this week, but we have been sharing a Zoom screen with Elise from United Way of Northern Shenandoah Valley. Mark and Rebecca also joined us from Literacy Volunteers, Winchester area. And it's a long weekend, people. And it's going to be a beautiful weekend of weather. So get out, enjoy yourself, do some yard work, enjoy some of the sunshine. I will not meet you back here on Monday a few minutes after noon, but I will be here Tuesday a few minutes after noon. It's going to be Tourism Tuesday as usual. Justin Kearns is going to join me, and I believe, I haven't recorded it yet, but I believe we are going to be talking to the owner of the Family Drive-In. So we're going to be talking a little bit about how his life and his business has changed in recent months. So meet me back here on Tuesday a few minutes after noon. Have a great weekend.